This is exactly why I don't allow any guy in school to talk to me. Everyone thinks I am proud, but I am not. Well, I don't blame them because they won't understand. I mean, why will I associate myself with little boys like them? What will they offer to me? Let's take life seriously. Her name is Clara James, and in Green Hope College, she was untouchable from the very first day she stepped into the school in Jayson 1. To them, she was the most beautiful, elegant, and intelligent girl they had ever seen. Every boy wanted her. Every girl wanted to be her. But Clara didn't want anyone. She had built walls too high for anyone to climb. Walls that protected her from questions, from friendships, from emotions. Because no one could ever understand the life she lived. The life she had to live. As she sat at the front of the class, her eyes fixed on the board, her mind wasn't on the teacher's words. Her mind was on everything that happened yesterday night. The flashing lights of the club. The smell of expensive cologne. The feel of cold, hard cash pressed into her palm. To survive, she had to become two people. By day, she was the perfect student. And by night, she belonged to the streets that never slept. Call girl. And no one, not even her teachers, had the slightest clue. Green Hope College was more than just a school. It was a world of its own. The children of the rich and powerful roamed its hallways like they owned the world. Luxury cars lined the entrance. Designer bags hung from every shoulder. And in the middle of it all, Clara stood out, not just for her beauty, but for her silence. She was a mystery even to the teachers. Always first in class, always perfect in her assignments, yet always distant. While other girls giggled in corners, whispering about crushes and weekend plans, Clara is either sitting alone in the school garden or reading. She never laughed too loud. Never lingered in groups. Never showed interest in anyone. To them she was proud. But Clara wasn't proud. She was focused. Focused on survival. Focused on making enough money to escape the past that haunted her. Clara, are you coming to the club dance class after class? A girl asked immediately. The teacher left, hopeful. No, Clara replied, not even looking up. It was always like that. She didn't have time for after-school clubs or idle chatter. Every moment she spent here was carefully calculated. Her life wasn't about making friends. It was about getting through each day, earning enough at night, and keeping her secret buried deep. She walked past them, her head held high, eyes cold. They could talk all they wanted. They didn't know her. And she planned to keep it that way. That evening, as the sun set, Clara stood by the hostel window, watching the city lights flicker to life. Lagos was alive, buzzing, calling for her. She opened her wardrobe, pulling out a small bag hidden beneath her clothes. Inside were makeup essentials, elegant dresses, and perfumes. Her transformation was about to begin. The campus was quiet, wrapped in the soft stillness of night. Only the occasional chirp of crickets and the distant hum of cars from the city broke the silence. The girls' hostel, like the rest of Green Hope, seemed asleep. But not Clara. Her heartbeat matched the rhythm of the ticking clock beside her bed. 11:45 p.m. She waited a few more minutes, ensuring the hostel matron had retired for the night. Clara sat up slowly, her movements precise, rehearsed. She reached for the small bag she had packed earlier, already knowing tonight's client, already knowing the car that would be waiting. Silently, she slipped into the bathroom, changing from the modest school uniform into a sleek black dress that clung to her curves like a second skin. A touch of red lipstick, a light spray of perfume, and the mask was complete. She no longer looked like the Clara everyone knew. This was the other her. The one no one would recognize. Clara opened her hostel door carefully, her eyes darting to the security post. As always, she had left him a little tip earlier in the day. Enough for them to turn a blind eye. Enough for her to pass without questions. As she stepped out into the cool night, a black SUV with tinted windows waited by the corner. The driver, a familiar face, gave her a slight nod. She climbed in without a word. At Green Hope College, students do not share rooms. Every student owns their rooms and privacy. That's the major advantage Clara had. The city stretched out before her like a dark ocean, glittering with temptation and danger. She didn't fear it. This was her world now, where she traded her youth for survival, her innocence for freedom. And as the car sped off towards the island's elite clubs, Clara looked back at the school, a faint ache in her chest. Daylight belonged to the girl they all admired. But the night belonged to her secrets. The club was alive, pulsing with neon lights and heavy beats that vibrated through the floor. Laughter, clinking glasses, and whispers of money danced through the air like smoke. Clara stepped inside, her heels clicking softly against the polished floor. Heads turned immediately. She wasn't Clara here. Here she was whoever they wanted her to be. A waitress smiled and waved her over. "He's in the VIP lounge, same as last time." Clara nodded and moved through the crowd, her face calm, composed, and untouchable. Wealthy men lounged on plush seats, their eyes following her, hungry. But she ignored them. She wasn't here for them. Not tonight. In the corner, a man in a tailored suit stood up as she approached. Mr. Daniels, mid-40s, rich, married, and one of her regulars. He smiled, reaching out for her hand. "You look beautiful tonight," he said, his voice smooth. "Thank you," Clara replied, her tone flat but polite. She had learned to say the right words, smile the right smile. They sat, exchanged pleasantries, discussed nothing of importance. Clara listened, laughed where needed, played the role flawlessly. All the while, her mind drifted. How much longer can I do this? After a while, he slid an envelope across the table. Her heart steadied as she took it. "Same place?" he asked. She nodded. "I'll meet you outside." Clara stepped away, heading to the restroom. Inside, she locked the door, leaned against the sink, and stared at herself in the mirror. The makeup, the dress, the smile, it was all a lie. A beautiful, painful lie. She touched the envelope, feeling the weight of her choices. This wasn't who she wanted to be. But survival didn't care about dreams. And she had learned the hard way that the world wasn't kind to girls like her. And just like that, she spent another night and the whole weekend with him in their usual spot. Monday morning arrived like a storm. The school gates of Green Hope College opened wide, welcoming students back after the weekend. As usual, Clara walked into the assembly hall, perfectly dressed, her face calm, her secret life neatly tucked away like the dress and makeup she had hidden the night before. Whispers floated through the air. But this time they weren't about her. "Did you see him? The new guy? He's on scholarship. I heard he's really poor but smart. And cute too. He's nothing like the other boys here." Clara barely listened. She didn't care. Green Hope always had something new to gossip about, and she had more important things on her mind, like keeping her grades up and preparing for another weekend that would drain her of everything, yet fill her pockets. But then she saw him. Jayson. He stood near the principal, tall, with sharp features and an easy confidence. His uniform looked too neat. His books held tightly in his hands. There was something different about him, something calm yet focused. The kind of person who wasn't trying to impress anyone. Their eyes met for the briefest second. Clara quickly looked away. He was just another boy. And boys meant nothing to her. "Students, meet Jayson Miller, our new scholarship student," the principal announced. "Please make him feel welcome." Clara didn't clap. She didn't smile. She just stood there, eyes fixed on the floor, counting the seconds until she could leave. Yet something about that moment lingered longer than it should have. Something about him. But she shook it off. She couldn't afford distractions. Not now. Not ever. Jayson was unlike any boy Clara had met at Green Hope. He wasn't loud, he didn't show off, and he didn't seem interested in the silly games the others played. He was focused, always in the library, always reading. And every morning, just as the first light broke the darkness, he was outside, sitting beneath the old almond tree with a book in hand. Clara noticed, though she pretended not to. She too was an early riser, but for different reasons. Her nights ended when his mornings began. One particular Thursday morning, as Clara slipped quietly through the back gate, her heels in hand and her dress hidden under a large hoodie, she paused. There he was, sitting as usual, unaware of her presence. So she thought. Jayson looked up, just in time to catch a glimpse of her retreating figure, the soft click of the gate closing behind her. Something felt off. Why would a student be outside at that hour? He shook it off. Maybe she had her reasons. But then it happened again. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Each time, Clara returned just before dawn, her steps hurried, her eyes scanning the empty grounds. By Monday morning, he couldn't hold it anymore because curiosity had gotten the better of him. He wasn't like the others who gossiped aimlessly. He wanted to understand. So instead of going to his usual spot, Jayson walked to the school's main gate and waited, hidden behind a hedge, watching. After 5 minutes, a sleek black car pulled up silently. The door opened and Clara stepped out, looking tired yet flawless, her face barely touched by the light. The car was gone in seconds, but for Jayson, everything had changed. Who was Clara James? And what was she hiding behind those perfect eyes? Jayson couldn't shake the image of Clara stepping out of that car. The way she moved, graceful yet hurried, wasn't just about sneaking into the hostel. It was like she was escaping from another life entirely. A life far from the image she presented at school. Throughout the day, his eyes followed her more than usual. She sat at the front of the class, answering questions with ease, flipping through textbooks like she had written them herself. There was no sign of fatigue, no indication that she had just returned from wherever she had been. But Jayson couldn't unsee what he had seen. During lunch, he sat under the almond tree, watching as Clara walked past a group of boys who called after her. "Hey Clara, looking good as always." She didn't even glance at them. "Proud as usual," one boy scoffed. Jayson didn't say a word, but his mind was spinning. A car. He had seen it before. Somewhere near the island clubs his uncle once worked as a security man. It wasn't just any car. It belonged to people with money. Serious money. That night, Jayson lay awake in his dorm, staring at the ceiling, trying to connect the dots. Why would Clara, a boarding student from a supposedly modest background, be riding in such a car? And at those hours, he knew he needed answers. He wasn't sure why. Was it curiosity, concern, or something deeper he didn't want to admit? All he knew was that Clara James was hiding something. And now, he couldn't stop until he found out what it was. By Friday, Jayson had made up his mind. He needed to know the truth. Not out of malice, but because something about Clara stirred a sense of urgency in him, a pull he couldn't explain. She wasn't just another mystery to solve. She was someone broken in a way he recognized. He had seen that look before. In his mother's eyes, in the eyes of kids who had seen too much at a young age. He needed to understand her. Before the last period, he approached the school principal and requested permission to go home for the weekend, citing family matters. It wasn't a lie. He did have an uncle on the island, and he planned to stay with him. But this weekend wasn't about family. It was about Clara. That evening, Jayson waited near the school gate, pretending to read a novel under the fading sunlight. He kept his eyes on the hostel block, heart pounding as the minutes crawled by. At exactly 11:50 p.m., he saw her. Clara, in the same oversized hoodie, slipped through the shadows like a whisper. A black SUV was already waiting, headlights off, engine humming softly. She climbed in quickly, and the vehicle pulled away. Jayson's breath caught in his throat. Without hesitation, he flagged down a passing bike, the rider eyeing him curiously. "Follow that SUV," Jayson said, slipping him a few cash. "Keep your distance, but don't lose it." The rider nodded, and they sped off, weaving through the quiet streets of Lagos. Jayson gripped the seat tightly, his heart racing. He didn't know what he would find, but something deep inside told him. Clara James's secret was darker than anyone could imagine. The city lights painted the night sky in hues of gold and blue, casting shadows that danced across the streets as Jayson followed closely behind the SUV. His heart pounded in his chest, each beat louder than the last, the wind rushing past his face as the bike sped through the winding roads of Lagos Island. He wasn't sure what to expect, a secret meeting, or a family emergency. But deep down something told him it was more. Something unspoken lingered in the way Clara carried herself, in the silent sadness behind her eyes. The SUV slowed as it approached a well-lit building with tinted glass windows and loud music seeping through the walls. The bike stopped a safe distance away. Hidden behind a row of cars, Jayson watched. The door to the SUV opened, and Clara stepped out. His breath caught. She looked different, not like the composed, cold girl at school. Tonight, she was stunning, dressed in a figure-hugging red dress, heels clicking confidently against the pavement, her long hair flowing down her back like a waterfall of secrets. She walked with purpose, her head held high as if she belonged. The bouncer at the entrance greeted her with familiarity, stepping aside to let her in without question. Jayson stared, frozen. What is this? He froze for some minutes before he could move. His feet felt heavy, but his curiosity was stronger. He approached the club, slipping in quietly, blending into the crowd. The music was deafening. Lights flashed. Laughter, smoke, and the scent of expensive liquor filled the air. And then he saw her. Clara, seated at a VIP table, beside a man old enough to be her father. She laughed as he leaned in close, whispering something into her ear, sliding his hand across the table towards hers. Jayson's stomach turned. It was all clear now. Clara wasn't just sneaking out. She was living a double life. On Saturday afternoon, Clara sat alone in the garden, the sunlight dancing through the leaves above, casting a warm glow over her flawless skin. She flipped through her notebook, pretending to study, but her mind was far away, still clouded by the events of the night before. She didn't notice Jayson until his shadow fell across her page. Clara! She looked up, startled for the first time. What do you want? Her voice was calm, but her eyes flickered with unease. I know the real you, he said quietly. Her breath hitched. Know what? About you. The club. Men. The cars. Clara stood up silently, closing her book with trembling hands. I don't know what you're talking about. Jayson didn't flinch. I saw you, Clara. Friday night. I followed you. Her eyes darted around, panic rising like bile in her throat. You have no idea what you're saying. Stay out of my business. But Jayson stepped closer, lowering his voice. I'm not here to judge you. I'm not going to tell anyone. I just want to understand. Clara's mask cracked just for a second. You can't understand anything, she whispered. I saw you. Tears threatened to fall, but she blinked them back. What do you want from me? She asked, her voice breaking. Nothing, Jayson said softly. I just want you to stop. She laughed bitterly, shaking her head. Stop, and do what? Starve. Live like a beggar. I'm not asking for everything, he replied. Just trust me. Talk to me. Let me help. For a moment, Clara stared at him, unsure, torn. And then, for the first time, she didn't walk away. Clara sat back down slowly, her hands clenched tightly in her lap, her breath shallow. No one had ever gotten this close to her truth before. She had built her life around control, controlling how people saw her, controlling her emotions, controlling her secrets. But Jayson had just shattered that control. You followed me, she said, her voice almost a whisper, as if the very words burned her throat. I had to, Jayson replied, his gaze steady. I couldn't just watch you come in very early, looking like someone who's carrying the weight of the world and say nothing. Her lips parted, but no words came out. I don't want your money, Clara, he added. I don't care about what you've done or who you've done it with. I just know you're better than this. Clara's eyes flashed. Better? Don't you dare tell me who I am or what I deserve. You think I do this because I like it. I think you do this because you feel like you have no choice, Jayson said gently. But you do, Clara. You do. She stood, pacing now, her nerves unraveling. You don't know anything about me. About where I come from. About what I've been through. Then tell me, Jayson urged. Let me in. A bitter smile curved her lips. What for? So you can pity me. So you can play the hero and save the poor, broken girl. No, he said firmly. So you can finally stop pretending you're fine. Clara froze. I'm not fine, Jayson, she whispered, tears welling in her eyes. I haven't been fine in a long time. Then let's figure it out. Together. She looked at him. There was no judgment in his eyes, no disgust. But hope was dangerous. She shook her head, wiping her eyes quickly. You don't get it. Can't just stop. This is my life. The money I make. It's not just for now. It's for survival. For my future. I need it. How much do you need? Jayson asked. To feel safe enough to stop. Clara hesitated. I don't know. I just know it's not enough yet. Jayson sighed, running his fingers through his hair. Okay, but what if I told you there are other ways? Honest ways. You're the smartest person in this school, Clara. You could tutor, work online. Online, she scoffed. That won't pay for what I need. Not fast enough. Maybe not fast, but real. And safe. Clara sat back down, exhausted. Her walls were crumbling and she hated it. Let me think about it, she said finally. Jayson nodded. That's all I'm asking. For the first time in years, Clara felt something she didn't recognize. The beginning of trust. Days passed. And Clara couldn't shake the conversation from her mind. She had gone back to her routine, school by day, clubs by night, but something had changed. Jayson's words echoed in her head, making her question everything. Why was he still talking to her? Why didn't he look at her with the same disgust others would if they knew? One afternoon, as they worked together on a science project in the lab, Clara caught herself watching him. The way he focused, his brow furrowed in concentration. His lips moving silently as he read through the readings. But he caught her staring. Are you okay? He asked softly. She looked away quickly. Yeah, just tired. You are easily getting tired a lot lately, Jayson said, not accusing, just observing. I'm always tired, she replied, the weight of her double life pressing harder than ever. Why don't you take a break? Just one weekend. Stay in and rest. She wanted to laugh. Rest wasn't something people like her could afford. But still the idea lingered. I'll think about it, she said, her voice softer than before. That weekend, for the first time in over 4 years, Clara didn't sneak out. She stayed in, her mind restless, her body aching for movement, but her heart strangely calm. This has always been her routine from JSS1. How can she suddenly stop in SS2 so easily? She did everything possible to sleep that Friday night and she won. She slept neglecting the appointment she had. On Saturday morning, she woke up to sunlight streaming through the window. Not the usual exhaustion after a long night. She found Jayson under the almond tree, as always. She quickly freshened up and walked up to him. You didn't go out last night, he said, not as a question, but as a quiet triumph. No, she admitted. I didn't. He smiled. How do you feel? Like I don't know what to do with myself, she said honestly. Then let's figure it out together. With that, they both laughed and studied together. As the days turned into weeks, Clara found herself drawn deeper into Jayson's world, a world so different from the one she had built for herself. It was simple, almost boring by her old standards. But in its simplicity, there was something beautiful, something pure. They spent their days working on their lab project, but it was more than just schoolwork now. It was laughter in between equations, quiet conversations beneath the almond tree, and moments where Clara almost forgot the heaviness she carried. To the rest of Green Hope, their growing closeness was nothing short of a miracle. Clara, James and Jayson. Are you serious? One girl whispered. She doesn't even talk to anyone. What's so special about him? Another asked. No one had an answer. Not even Clara. One afternoon, as they sat in the library, Jayson closed his notebook and looked at her. "Do you ever think about leaving it all behind?" he asked. Clara looked up. "Leaving what?" "The nightlife. The secrets. Just starting over." She sighed, leaning back in her chair. "It's not that easy, Jayson. You make it sound like I can just walk away. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm just saying it's possible." Clara shook her head, a sad smile on her lips. "You don't know what it's like to need something so badly you'll do anything for it." "I know what it's like to want something better," he said quietly. Their eyes locked, and for a moment everything else faded. "You're not like them," Clara said, almost to herself. "Like who?" "Everyone else. The boys here. They want to own me. You just want to know me." Jayson reached across the table, his hand brushing hers. "Maybe you'll let me one day." Clara's heart fluttered, a feeling she had buried long ago, now rising to the surface. It didn't take long for the whispers to grow louder. Clara and Jayson, always together, always lost in their own world. Students speculated, teachers watched with raised eyebrows, and the balance Clara had carefully maintained began to shift. "Did you hear? Clara's changed. I saw her laugh yesterday. Can you believe it?" Jayson heard the whispers too, but he didn't care. He was used to being the outsider, the boy from a poor background, the scholarship kid who didn't belong. Now he had Clara, and somehow that made everything else fade away. But for Clara, the whispers were a warning. She had spent so long building a wall between herself and the world, and now it was cracking. Later that night, as she lay in bed, her phone buzzed. "Jayson, I'll be outside at 5 a.m. Come walk with me." She stared at the message, torn. But deep inside she knew. She was already walking away from the life she once knew, and toward something terrifyingly new. The sky was still dark. Clara stepped out into the early morning chill. The air was crisp, quiet, so different from the smoky, heavy nights she was used to. She wrapped her arms around herself as she walked slowly toward the almond tree where Jayson waited, just as he said he would. He stood with his hands in his pockets, eyes on the horizon, as if the sky held answers to questions he hadn't asked yet. When he saw her, his face lit up with a soft smile. "You came," he said. Clara shrugged, her usual defense. "I couldn't sleep." Jayson nodded, falling into step beside her as they began to walk around the school grounds. The world felt still, untouched, like they were the only two people alive in it. "Why do you always come out here this early?" Clara asked, her voice low. "It's peaceful," he replied. "Before the world wakes up and everything gets noisy. It's the only time I feel like I can think clearly." She nodded slowly, understanding more than she wanted to admit. They walked in silence for a while, the soft crunch of their footsteps filling the quiet. Then Jayson glanced at her. "What were you like before all this?" Clara paused. "Before what?" "Before the clubs. Before the secrets." Clara's chest tightened. No one had ever asked her that. No one had ever cared. "I don't remember," she lied. "You do," he said gently. She stopped walking, turning to face him. "Why do you care, Jayson? Why are you trying so hard to fix me?" "I'm not trying to fix you," he said, stepping closer. "I just want you to see that there's more to you than what you've been through. More than what you've had to do." Clara looked away, swallowing the lump in her throat. "I don't know how to be anything else. Let me show you." For the first time, Clara let herself believe it was possible, that maybe, just maybe, there was still a part of her worth saving. That morning, she didn't think about money or clients or secrets. She just thought about him. The days that followed were like nothing Clara had experienced before. She began to feel something unfamiliar, light. The burden she always carried seemed to loosen, just a little, whenever she was with Jayson. She started turning down offers from clients, claiming sickness or exams. One evening, as they sat under the almond tree, Jayson finally asked the question he had been holding back. "Why do you do it, Clara?" "The truth." She froze, her breath catching. She had danced around the truth for so long, feeding him half answers and vague excuses. But now, sitting beside him in the fading light, she felt the weight of honesty pressing down on her. "I didn't have a choice," she said quietly. "When I was a child, someone I trusted hurt me. Someone who was supposed to protect me." Jayson's hands clenched, but he said nothing, letting her continue. "I wasn't always like this," she began, her voice quiet but steady. "I didn't grow up in Lagos. I came from a small village. Nothing there but poverty and dust. My parents could barely feed me, so when my auntie came from Lagos and offered to take me with her, they thought it was a blessing." She paused, staring at her hands. "I was just a little girl, maybe 6 or 7. I didn't know what Lagos was. I didn't know that people could be so cruel." Jayson's chest tightened, but he remained silent, letting her continue. "My auntie's husband started touching me not long after I moved in. First I didn't understand. I was scared. I told her once. But she beat me for lying. Said I was trying to destroy her home. After that I stopped talking. I just let it happen." Her voice cracked, but she pushed on. "Every time he came to me, I felt like I was dying inside. But I didn't have anywhere to go. I didn't have anyone." A tear slipped down her cheek, and she quickly wiped it away. "After I finished primary 6, during the holidays, she caught us, her husband and I. Instead of helping me, she threw me out. She said I seduced her husband. That I was a curse." Jayson's hands clenched into fists, his jaw tight. "I was just a child, Jayson. Alone on the streets. I had nothing." She took a shaky breath. "I wandered for days, hungry, cold. Until one night, a lady found me. Her name was Rose. She was like me but older. She took me in, gave me food and a place to sleep. I thought I was safe." Her eyes grew distant. "But nothing is free. She told me I had to survive just like her. She said she doesn't have any issues housing or feeding me, but I need to join her in the street if I really want something good for myself. I refused. I told her I would rather die. But when it was time to register for JSS1, and I had no money, no help, no hope, I gave in." Jayson swallowed hard, his heart breaking for her. "I was young. Too young. But that made me valuable. Men like that. Rich men love the fact that I was young. They paid well and I started saving. Rose taught me how to pick the right clients, how to stay clean, and how to keep secrets. Soon I had enough to enroll here at Green Hope. I thought maybe I could have a different life. But I couldn't stop." Her voice dropped lower, filled with shame. "Even as a boarding student, I found ways to leave. Told the school I needed to help my auntie on weekends. Paid the security to keep quiet. At night I was theirs. But during the day I was Clara James, the girl with the brains, the perfect student." Jayson felt tears prick his eyes, but he held them back. "That's how I became both," she whispered. "A student in the day, call girl at night. That's how I survived." She looked at him, her face stripped of all masks, all pride. "Now you know everything. Are you happy?" Jayson shook his head slowly. "No, I'm not happy. But I'm here. And I'm not leaving." Clara turned away, unable to hold his gaze any longer. She had never told anyone, not even Rose, the full truth. It had always been locked away, a part of her she thought no one could ever see. "You should go, Jayson," she said, her voice hollow. "I'm not the girl you think I am." "You're not," he agreed, standing beside her. "You're stronger, braver, smarter." She laughed bitterly. "Stop lying to me." "I'm not lying," he said firmly. "You've survived what most people couldn't. And you're still standing. Still trying. But I've done terrible things," she said. "You've done what you had to. And now you can do something else." Jayson replied to her. She shook her head. "It's not that easy." "No, it's not. But I'll help you. If you allow me." Clara looked at him, tears streaming down her face now, unchecked. "Why, Jayson? Why would you care about someone like me?" "Because I see you," he said softly. "Not just what you've done. Who you are. And for the first time in her life, Clara let herself believe. Maybe she didn't have to be broken forever. The days after Clara's confession felt different. The weight she had carried for so long had been shared, and though it didn't vanish, it seemed lighter, less suffocating. Jayson didn't treat her any differently. He didn't pity her or pull away like she feared. Instead, he became her anchor, her steady hand in a world still spinning with chaos. But old habits, old fears didn't die easily. One Friday evening, as the hostel grew quiet and the city lights beckoned from beyond the school gates, Clara sat by her window, her heart pounding with conflict. Her phone buzzed, a message from Rose. "A client is waiting. Good money. You're coming, right?" Clara stared at the screen, her mind racing. She had money saved, yes. But it wouldn't last forever. What if Jayson got tired of her? What if the school found out? What if she was left with nothing again? Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. She didn't reply. Instead, she turned off her phone, curled into her bed, and squeezed her eyes shut. The next morning as she walked to class, Clara found Jayson waiting for her by the almond tree, as usual. He smiled when he saw her, and without a word, handed her a warm meat pie he had saved from breakfast. "You didn't go," he said softly. "No," she replied, her voice small. "How do you feel?" "Weird. Scared." "Good," he chuckled. "That means you're alive." She laughed too, the sound unfamiliar yet comforting. But the victory was short-lived. Later that day, Rose called her, found her. "Why didn't you show up?" Rose asked in anger. "I'm done, Rose," she answered. "And you think it's that easy? You think you can just walk away?" Rose asked, concerned. "Yes, I have to. They'll come for you. You owe them." Rose laughed, threatening her. Clara hissed, "I don't owe anyone, Rose." She replied and ended the call. But her heart pounded with fear. Could she really leave it all behind? Or would her past always pull her back? Clara started spending more time with Jayson, studying, walking, talking about dreams she never thought she would allow herself to have. He showed her things she had never noticed. The beauty in simple moments, the joy of being young. For the first time, Clara felt like a girl, not a surviving adult. But she was still haunted by the life she had lived. One evening, as they sat together, Jayson looked at her, serious. "You don't have to do this alone, Clara. Let's figure it out together." "I want to believe that," she whispered. "But what if I fall again? Then I'll help you get back up. Every time." She leaned her head on his shoulder, closing her eyes. "I'm scared, Jayson. So am I. But we've come this far, haven't we?" She nodded, tears slipping silently down her cheeks. Yes, they had. And maybe, just maybe, they could go even further. But that very night was heavy with temptation. Clara sat on her bed, the same small bag by her side, the one she had packed and unpacked countless times. Her hands trembled as she stared at it, her mind at war with itself. The money coming tonight was a good one. Rose goaled her so. Maybe she should just do this one last job, and finally end everything for good. But wasn't that what she always told herself? One last time. And now it's almost 5 years. Her phone buzzed again. "Clara, the client is asking." "He's waiting at the usual spot. He's serious and it's big money. Don't waste this." Message from Rose. Clara clenched her jaw, her chest tightening. Jayson's words echoed in her mind. "You don't have to do this anymore." She stood up, grabbed the bag, and threw it under her bed. No more. The next morning, Clara woke up to sunlight, not exhaustion. Her body felt different. Lighter. She didn't realize how heavy her nights had been until she let them go. At the general breakfast, Jayson sat across from her, smiling. "You didn't go," he said. "I'm done, Jayson," she whispered, barely believing it herself. "I'm really done." But freedom wasn't so simple. Later that afternoon, as Clara walked alone toward the school garden, a call came in from Rose. "You think you can just disappear," she hissed. "Do you know who you're dealing with? That man paid already. You owe him, Clara." "I don't owe anyone," Clara shot back. I'm not coming back, Rose. Rose's face twisted with anger and fear. You think they'll let you go? You think they'll just forget? You belong to this. No, Clara said, her voice shaking but strong. Not anymore. You're a fool, Rose spat. And you'll come crawling back when you're broke and alone. Clara didn't respond. She turned off her phone and walked away, each step feeling like a rebellion and a victory at the same time. That night, for the first time in years, Clara didn't feel like she was running. She felt like she was finally living. Weeks passed, and the air around Clara changed. She smiled more. She laughed freely. And people noticed. The whispers at Green Hope shifted. She's different now. Have you seen her with Jayson? They're always together. Clara didn't care. For once, she let herself enjoy the attention, not for what she could give, but for who she was becoming. Her grades soared higher, her confidence grew, and her bond with Jayson deepened. One quiet evening, as they walked under the soft glow of the setting sun, Jayson stopped, turning to face her. Clara, he said, his voice low. There's something I've been wanting to ask you. Her heart skipped. I know you've been through more than anyone should. And I know you're still healing. Love you. I've loved you from the moment you let me see the real you. Clara's breath caught. And I want to be the one who helps you dream again, who helps you live again. Please, will you be my girlfriend? Tears filled her eyes. Yes, she whispered. Yes, Jayson. I love you too. In his arms, she found a peace she never thought was possible. Not because her past was gone, but because her future had finally begun. Being with Jayson felt like stepping into the sunlight after years of darkness. Everything looked brighter, sounded softer, and felt new. Clara wasn't used to this, to waking up without dread, to going through the day without constantly thinking about money, fear, and survival. She had never believed in fairy tales. Love to her was just a word people used when they wanted something. But now, as she walked hand in hand with Jayson across the school grounds, she understood why people fought so hard to protect it. They were inseparable. Mornings were for studying together, afternoons for laughing over shared meals, and evenings spent under the almond tree, dreaming about a future that didn't seem so impossible anymore. But even as the days grew softer, Clara's heart remained cautious. Letting go of fear wasn't as easy as it seemed. One evening after class, she sat with Jayson in the school garden, the sky painted with fading hues of orange and pink. He was telling her about a book he had read, something about chasing dreams and believing in second chances. Clara smiled, but her eyes were distant. What are you thinking about? Jayson asked, gently brushing her hand. She hesitated. I'm just scared. Of what? That this won't last. That one day, you'll wake up and realize I'm not worth it. Jayson turned to her, his eyes serious. Clara, I know your past. All of it. And I still choose you. Every day, I will keep choosing you. Tears welled in her eyes. You don't understand. My past. It's ugly. It's not just something that disappears because I want it to. I still have nightmares, Jayson. I still feel dirty sometimes. He cupped her face in his hands. You're not dirty. You're not broken. You are strong. You are beautiful. And you are worth loving, every part of you. Her walls trembled but didn't fall. Not completely. But with every word, every look, Jayson was helping her rebuild from the inside. I'm trying, she whispered. I know, he smiled. And I'm here. Always. Despite the happiness she now tasted, Clara couldn't fully escape the shadows that trailed her. At night, when the world was quiet, doubts crept in like unwelcome visitors. She hadn't heard from Rose in weeks. Part of her was relieved, but another part feared what silence might mean. Would they come looking for her? Would they expose her past to the school? The thought haunted her. During classes, she found herself zoning out, her mind wandering to what-ifs and maybes. She caught herself staring at her classmates, wondering what they would think if they knew. Would they still envy her? Would they still praise her intelligence, her beauty? One afternoon, as she walked past the school's notice board, something caught her eye. Scholarship opportunity. Full sponsorship to study abroad for outstanding students. Her heart skipped. She had dreamed of studying abroad, of leaving Lagos behind, of starting fresh where no one knew her name or her past. But dreams required belief and money. Later that evening, she told Jayson about the scholarship. "You should apply," he said without hesitation. "I can't." "Why not? You're the smartest student in this school. You're top of the class. What if they find out, Jayson? About everything?" "They won't. And even if they do, your past doesn't define your future." Clara looked at him, hope flickering in her chest like a fragile flame. "You really think I can do it?" "I know you can." And for the first time, Clara dared to imagine a life not just free from her past, but filled with endless possibilities. Clara stared at the scholarship form in her hands, the words blurring as her fingers trembled. The bold letters at the top, Green Hope International Scholars Program, felt both like a promise and a challenge. Could she really be more than what her past said she was? Jayson had helped her fill out the preliminary application, but the final step required her to write something she hadn't done before. A personal statement. A story of who she was, where she came from, and why she deserved this chance. But how could she put her life into words without revealing the very thing she has fought so hard to hide? Sitting at her desk late into the night, Clara stared at the blank page. Her pen hovered, her heart pounding. "I'm from a village no one remembers," she wrote slowly. "A place where dreams are small because survival is big." She paused, her breath shaky. "My life hasn't been easy, but it's taught me strength. It's taught me that intelligence isn't just about books, but about finding ways to rise, even when everything pulls you down." She stopped again. She couldn't write it all, not yet. But she could write enough. "I want to study abroad, not to run from my past, but to build a future where I can help girls like me. Where I can be more than what the world tried to make me." Tears blurred her vision, but her heart felt lighter. She finished the letter and sealed the envelope. The next day, as Clara placed her application into the submission box, a voice from behind sent a chill through her. "I see you're still trying to be someone you're not." She turned, and her blood ran cold. Rose, standing there, arms crossed, eyes sharp and unforgiving. "What are you doing here?" Clara demanded, her voice low. "I came to remind you," Rose sneered. "You don't just leave people like us. You think those rich classmates of yours will save you. Or that poor boy. He won't stick around when he knows the real you." "He already knows," Clara snapped. "And he's still here." Rose laughed bitterly. "We'll see how long that lasts. But don't forget, Clara, people like us don't get happy endings." Clara stood tall, her heart pounding but her voice steady. "I'm not people like you anymore, Rose," she replied and walked away. But even as she walked away, fear gripped her chest. Because Rose didn't make empty threats. Clara tried to shake off Rose's words, but they lingered, clinging to her like shadows. She didn't tell Jayson about the encounter. She didn't want to worry him. She wanted to believe she could handle it on her own. But her nights became restless again. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw herself back on those streets, lost, helpless, used. One afternoon after classes, Jayson found her by the garden, sitting alone, hugging her knees. "You okay?" he asked, sitting beside her. She forced a smile. "Yeah, just tired." He didn't believe her, but he waited. After a long silence, she spoke. "I saw Rose." Jayson's jaw tightened. What did she want? To scare me. To remind me that I'm still one of them. You're not. But what if she tells someone? What if she ruins everything? Jayson reached for her hand. She can't ruin you, Clara. She didn't make you, and she doesn't own you. Tears filled her eyes. I'm trying so hard, Jayson. But sometimes I still feel like that little broken and unwanted girl. You're not broken, he whispered. You're just healing. And I'm here. We'll face whatever comes. Together. She hugged him and allowed herself to fall apart, just for a moment, because even the strongest need someone to help carry the weight. The air was thick with tension that night. Clara couldn't sleep. Her body was still, but her mind raced. She knew Rose wouldn't walk away quietly. She never did. And now that Clara had drawn a line, the game was no longer subtle. Around 2 a.m. her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "Come outside. One last time. I swear it's worth it. Big money. No pressure. Just talk." Clara's heart thumped. She recognized the number. It was one of her former clients. A man who always had cash and threats in equal measure. Someone Rose must have sent to reel her back. Her hands shook as she typed. "No please. I told Rose I'm done. Leave me alone." She sent it but there was no reply. But 10 minutes later, she heard a car engine purring outside the school fence. Lights off. Waiting. Her breath caught in her throat. She peeked through the window to see the sleek black car she knew far too well. And her past sat inside it, smirking. She backed away from the window. They weren't just testing her strength, they were threatening her peace. She tried all she could to sleep and by morning she felt drained. But she had made her decision. She wasn't going back. Not ever again. The next day, Clara walked into the principal's office, her shoulders squared. "I want to report someone," she said firmly. The principal, surprised, adjusted his glasses. "Go on." She told him everything. Not the deep, intimate past, but enough to raise concern. About a woman from outside the school harassing her. About a man waiting outside the school fence at night. Security was informed and the gate guards were warned. It was time to protect herself. Later that day, Jayson found her outside, her face pale but determined. "I reported them," she said. His eyes widened. "You did." She nodded. "I'm tired of hiding. I'm tired of being scared." He pulled her into a hug. "I'm proud of you." Clara felt the warmth of his arms, and for the first time in years, she didn't feel like a victim. She felt like a survivor. Weeks passed. Clara focused on her studies with renewed purpose. She poured her pain into her books, her hopes into her scholarship application, and her healing into her love for Jayson. She submitted the final documents. The interviews came. The panel was impressed, not just by her academic records, but by her quiet confidence. "You've been through a lot, haven't you?" one of them asked. She smiled faintly. "Enough to know that education is my way out." She walked out of the room knowing something had changed. She didn't just want the scholarship. She was ready for it. Jayson had become her peace. Every stolen moment with him under the trees, in the library, on the assembly ground. They were building a love story no one expected, not even them. He never once looked at her with pity. He looked at her like someone he respected, admired, cherished. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hostel walls, Clara turned to him. "You know what scares me the most?" she asked. He looked at her. "What?" "That all this is temporary. That one day, I'll lose it all." He took her hands. "Then let's hold on tighter. Because even if the world turns upside down, I'm not letting go." And in that moment she believed him. It's the last term in S3. And for the first time in years, Clara walked into a new term not carrying the weight of her double life. She no longer snuck out at night. No longer lied to herself or others about who she was or what she needed. The girl who had once lived only to survive was now learning what it meant to live. And with Jayson by her side, she wasn't afraid anymore. As the final exams approached, the campus buzzed with energy. Students buried themselves in textbooks, group discussions echoed in every corner, and even the most playful classmates now carried pens behind their ears and notes in their hands. But for Clara and Jayson, this wasn't just about passing. It was about proving. Proving that despite where they came from, despite the battles they have fought, they belonged among the best. Their days were long but fulfilling. Mornings started early, meeting under the almond tree before the hostel bell even rang. They would sip water, exchange sleepy smiles, and open their books. No distractions, no secrets. Just them, focused. "I never thought I would enjoy studying this much," Clara said one morning, flipping through her biology notes. "It's different when you're not running from something," Jayson replied, nudging her playfully. She smiled, nodding. "Now I'm running toward something." Their final exams began on a Monday. Subject after subject, Clara poured herself onto every page. She didn't just answer questions, she fought with her pen. Every formula, every essay, every multiple choice was a reminder of what she had sacrificed to be here. Jayson was her constant. Between exams they would find each other, sit under their tree, and rest in silence. Sometimes he will read aloud to her, sometimes she will close her eyes and just listen to the comfort in his voice. Each exam day was a victory. Each passing hour is a step closer to freedom. After weeks of writing the exams, the last paper was on a Friday, biology. Clara walked out of the hall, the sun bright in her eyes, her heart pounding with a strange mix of relief and disbelief. "It's over," she whispered. Jayson caught up with her, breathless. "You did it." "No, we did it," she smiled. But in those smiles, they knew they will be apart for a long time till graduation day. It was a 3-week holiday before graduation, 3 weeks before the results would come, before the scholarship board would announce their decisions. Clara returned home, not to her old life, but to a quiet place she rented. Jayson went back to his parents' house. Though distance separated them, their bond grew stronger. The moment Clara unpacked her things, her phone lit up. It was a call from Jayson asking if she is home safely. "Yes, and I miss you already," she replied. "Me too. Should we have a video call later?" Jayson asked. "Yes, I'll be waiting," Clara replied happily. That night they spoke for hours. Lying in their separate beds, phones propped up, faces lit by the dim glow of the screen. They talked about everything, the exams, their fears, their hopes. "You think we'll both get the scholarship?" Clara asked, twirling a strand of hair. "I believe in you. Even if I don't, you will," Jayson said firmly. "Don't say that. I'm serious. I will be happy just seeing you get it." She shook her head, heart swelling. "No, we do this together. Like everything else." The following week they set study routines, not because they needed to anymore, but because it gave them comfort. They shared books, exchanged articles, and kept each other sharp. But it wasn't just about studying. They had fun. Video calls turned into virtual dates, eating meals together while chatting, playing music, showing each other silly things from their day. One night, Clara danced for him, barefoot in her room, laughing as he clapped on the screen. "You're terrible," she teased. "And you're beautiful," he replied. Although they missed each other together, the weight was unbearable. They counted days, soon the graduation week came. The last days of the holiday felt like a dream. They were going back, not as scared students but as victors. Their future stretched wide, full of promise. And as they returned to Green Hope for the final time, to stand among their peers, to wear the gowns and hold the certificates, Clara felt something she never had before. Freedom. No longer bound by fear. No longer hiding. For her, this wasn't just graduation. This was a rebirth. Graduation loomed like a promise and a threat. Students buzzed with excitement, taking pictures, planning outfits, writing messages in yearbooks. But Clara felt the weight of the day more than anyone else. It wasn't just the end of school. It was the end of the only place she had known peace. The scholarship results hadn't come in yet. Jayson was quiet too. He seemed distant, thoughtful. "You okay?" she asked a night too. He nodded. "Just thinking." She smiled softly. "About the future. About us." Her heart skipped. "You don't think we'll make it?" "I think we're stronger than everything we've been through." She leaned her head on his shoulder. Graduation was coming. But so was the truth. And Clara had no idea what was waiting for her at the finish line. On the graduation day, students beamed in green and gold gowns, the stage glittering with flowers and flashbulbs. Clara sat in the front row, hands folded in her lap, eyes scanning the crowd. And suddenly her name was called. She rose to the stage and the principal handed her a plaque. Written on it valedictorian, most outstanding student. A standing ovation followed. She accepted her plaque with trembling hands and walked back to her seat. After the ceremony, the school hosted a lunch with students and parents. Clara waited near the garden with Jayson. Then she saw him. Tall, powerful man stepping out of a black car. He was escorted to the principal, who bowed slightly. Jayson stood frozen. Clara turned to him. "Who's that?" Jayson swallowed. "That's my father." Clara's chest tightened. "Your father?" Jayson nodded slowly. "Yes, he owns the school." The world tilted beneath her feet. "You lied to me," Clara said, her voice barely above a whisper. They stood behind the dormitory block, away from the noise of celebration. "I didn't lie," Jayson said. "I just didn't tell you." "Same thing," Clara shouted. But Jayson replied calmly, looking pained. "My father made me come here like this, to live simply. He wanted me to learn how the real world works. How people live when they don't have money or power." Clara's chest heaved. "So I was your lesson?" "No," he said, stepping closer. "You were my miracle." Her eyes filled with tears. "You said you understood poverty. You said you knew what it meant to struggle." "I do," he whispered. "Just not in the way you thought." She backed away. "You should have told me." "I wanted to. But I didn't want to lose you." And now he was losing her anyway because Clara ran out immediately. She spent the night in silence. Alone in the dark, the memories rushed back. The streets, the hunger, the shame. And now this. The one person she trusted had kept a truth that made her feel small and stupid. She laid awake, finding it difficult to sleep till morning. But as she came out to have her breakfast before leaving, Jayson was waiting outside. His eyes swollen from his own sleepless night. "I'm sorry," he said. "I know I should have told you." She looked at him for a long time. Then, "I'm angry. But I don't hate you." Relief flooded his face. "But I need time." He nodded and gave it. The days after graduation were a blur. Students left Green Hope, their laughter echoing in empty halls, their faces full of excitement for the next chapter. But Clara stayed behind, her heart caught between two worlds. The scholarship results hadn't come yet. Jayson kept his distance throughout the day, respecting her need for space, though every time she saw him, her heart ached. She missed him, but the weight of his hidden truth was still fresh. That evening, as she walked through the now silent school grounds going home for good, memories of her time there flooded her. The girl who first walked into Green Hope was not the same girl who now stood there. She had been wearing a mask. Now she was a survivor, fighter, a woman reclaiming her story. As she reached the garden, she found a small envelope placed carefully on the bench beneath the almond tree. Her name was written on it. She opened it, hands shaking. "You're not just my miracle, Clara. You are my reason. I didn't tell you everything because I was ashamed. Not of you, but of how easy my life has been compared to yours. I didn't want my world to taint what we had. But I see now that truth matters more than fear. I love you and I'm here. Always. Jayson." Tears fell freely. Clara folded the note, pressing it to her heart. She wasn't ready to lose him. But she has already lost him because he has left for his parents' mansion, and she is not ready to continue with someone who everything about him was a total lie. "I wish I didn't fall for you, Jayson. And I wish I didn't change for you. I knew it was too good to be true," she said to herself as she walked out of the school gate in tears. But the more she moved, the more tears flowed down her cheeks. She had lost the only one she truly trusted. And she had no idea how much worse things are about to get because Rose might still come back for her. A week later, Clara received a call. Her hands trembled as she answered. "Clara James?" a woman's voice asked. "Yes. This is Mrs. Darlington from the Green Hope International Scholars Program. Congratulations. You've been awarded a full scholarship to study in the United States." Clara's knees buckled. Are you sure? She whispered. You earned it. You've shown exceptional strength and intelligence. We believe in you. As she hung up, her world shifted. It wasn't a dream anymore. She was going to the US. Her past didn't win. The next day, she decided to visit Jayson, following the address in the letter to inform him of the good news. The heavy metal gates of the Miller residence stood tall and imposing before Clara, and for a brief moment, she thought she was in the wrong place because this wasn't the world she belonged to, or so she believed. The perfectly trimmed hedges, the polished driveway, the elegant house looming in the distance. It all felt too perfect, too far from the chaos she had come from. But she had to see him. Her heart beat wildly in her chest as she approached the gate. The guard, recognizing her from Jayson's photos, nodded and opened the gate without question. Her feet felt like they were walking on foreign soil, each step heavy with a mix of anger, confusion, and longing. Jayson stood at the doorway, as if he had been waiting the whole time. Their eyes met. He looked different here. Still him, but surrounded by wealth that now made sense. The designer wristwatch on his wrist, the calm confidence in his stance. It wasn't just from within, it came from knowing the world was already his. Clara felt small again. You came, he said softly, stepping forward. She nodded, unsure if her voice would even come out. Can we talk? She asked. He opened the door wider. Always. Inside, everything was quiet. The house smelled like fresh flowers and something warm baking. A large painting hung over the fireplace, and soft music played in the background. She didn't belong here. Yet here she was. They sat in the living room, the silence stretching between them like a fragile thread. I got the scholarship, Clara said, finally breaking the tension. Jayson's eyes lit up, his lips curving into a smile. Clara, that's amazing. I knew you would. And I will leave in 2 months, she continued, her voice steady, but her heart wasn't. I'm so proud of you, he said, reaching for her hand. She pulled back gently. I'm still angry, she admitted, her eyes brimming. I don't know if I'm angry at you or at myself for believing everything so easily. You have every right to be, he said. I should have told you sooner. Why didn't you? Jayson sighed, leaning forward. Because I didn't want to lose you. I thought if you knew who I really was, you would pull away. I wanted you to love me for me, not for what my family has. I didn't love you for what you had, Clara said, her voice cracking. I loved you because you made me feel like I was more than my past. Like I deserved more. You do, he whispered. You always have. She looked away, the emotions crashing into her. You were the first person I trusted, she said, her voice barely a whisper. And when I found out, it felt like I lost something I just got. I'm sorry, Jayson said again. But I'm here, Clara. I've always been here. And I'll wait however long it takes for you to forgive me. Silence. Then slowly Clara turned to him, her eyes shining with tears. I don't want to leave with this between us. I don't want to carry this anger across the ocean. He reached for her hand again, and this time she let him. I'm trying, Jayson. I want to forgive you. I want us. You have me, he said, pulling her close. And for the first time in days, she felt whole again. They had lunch, walked round the compound discussing how the future and distance would be for them. And after everything, Jayson drove her home. The city that once swallowed Clara whole now seemed smaller as she prepared to leave it behind. Lagos had been everything to her. Her nightmare, her battleground, and somehow her home. Now it was time to say goodbye. She made a list. The places she had to visit. The people she had to see. She needed closure before she could fully embrace the future. Her first stop was the place she feared the most. The old street where it all began. The tiny apartment where she had lived with her auntie. The corner where she had slept on her first night alone. It hadn't changed. But she had. She walked slowly, the memories flashing like sharp cuts in her mind. She stood there for a long time, letting the weight of the past sink in one last time. The fear, the shame, the helplessness. It was all real. But it didn't define her anymore. Her next stop was inevitable.
Rose.
Clara found her sitting outside a small shop, smoking lazily, her eyes narrowing when she approached. Well, well. Look who decided to show up, Rose said, blowing out a cloud of smoke. I'm leaving, Clara said simply. Rose raised an eyebrow. Running away, huh? Thought you were better than that. I'm not running, Clara replied. I'm moving on. To where? Another city. Another man's bed. Clara shook her head, sadness filling her chest. To another life. I got a scholarship. I'm going to the US. Rose laughed, but there was no joy in it. And you think they'll want you there? You think they'll love you with your dirty little past? I don't need them to love me, Clara said. I love myself now. And I am grateful to you, Rose. Rose froze. I am grateful to you for taking me in, for showing me how to survive, even if it nearly killed me. I forgive you for not knowing better. But I won't let you pull me back anymore. She turned to leave. Clara, Rose called after her. You'll be back. They all come back. But Clara didn't turn around. She wouldn't be back. Not this time. The sun over Lagos seemed softer now, as if the city itself knew Clara's time here was coming to an end. The streets bustled with their usual chaos, drivers honking, vendors shouting, but none of it weighed her down anymore. She was lighter now, free in ways she had never thought possible. After leaving Rose's house, Clara didn't go straight home. She went to Jayson. He had been waiting. When he saw her step out of the taxi, something in him shifted. Her shoulders were straighter, her eyes clearer, and though he knew the visit must have stirred old wounds, she walked with purpose. You okay? He asked, meeting her halfway. Clara nodded, the faintest smile on her lips. I am now. He pulled her into his arms, holding her tight as if he could protect her from every pain she had ever felt. She let him. Jayson spent the next week at her apartment, refusing to let her face the countdown to departure alone. The space was small, just a single room with a bathroom and a kitchen, but with him there it felt like home. In the mornings they would cook breakfast together, Jayson fumbling through frying eggs, Clara teasing him for burning toast. How do you survive without me? She laughed one morning, watching him scrape burnt bread. I was waiting for you to teach me. He grinned, kissing her forehead. Their days were filled with quiet moments, shared silences, and long conversations about everything that lay ahead. At night, they would lie side by side, hands intertwined, speaking in whispers about the future, about dreams, about fears neither dared voice before. I'm scared, Clara confessed one night, her head resting on his chest. He stroked her hair gently. Of what? That I'll forget this. Forget what it felt like to have you here like this. He kissed her hair. Then let's make memories you'll never forget. The next few days Jayson made sure Clara stepped into her new life fully prepared, not just with documents and plans, but with everything she needed to feel confident and comfortable. One morning he surprised her. We're going shopping. Clara raised an eyebrow. Shopping? For what? For you. For America. You need to look the part, feel the part. I'm fine with what I have. I'm not, he smirked. Let's go. They spent the entire day in boutiques she had only walked past before. Jayson watched her eyes light up as she tried on outfits she never imagined wearing. Sleek jackets, fitted jeans, elegant dresses that hugged her in all the right ways. First she protested. This is too much, she said, stepping out of the changing room in a pale blue dress that made her look like a dream. You're too much, he replied, eyes never leaving her. And you deserve everything good. For hours they laughed, teased, and danced through racks of clothes, until Clara finally relented. Okay, she smiled, arms full of bags. I'll admit this was fun. They ended the day with ice cream on a quiet bench, watching the city as if it was theirs alone. The days that followed were a collection of moments Clara wished she could bottle forever. A sunset picnic by the beach, where Jayson surprised her with her favorite snacks and a blanket laid out just for them. A late-night walk through their favorite park, hand in hand, stealing kisses under the moonlight. A visit to the cinema, sitting in the back row, whispering commentary and laughing softly when no one was listening. But the best moments were the simplest. Lying together in her room, no need for words, just the comfort of being close. "You're everything to me," Jayson told her one night, his voice thick with emotion. "I wish I could go with you." "You will," she said, tracing circles on his chest. "You're always with me." The day she was to leave arrived too quickly. Her bags were packed, her documents in order, and yet her heart ached. Jayson insisted on driving her to the airport. The car ride was quiet, each of them lost in thoughts, trying to hold on to every last second. As they pulled up to the airport, Clara felt a lump rise in her throat. "This is it," she whispered, turning to face him. He reached for her hand, holding it tightly. "Clara, no matter where you go, I'll be here, waiting, supporting and loving you." Tears filled her eyes. "I don't want to say goodbye." "It's not goodbye," he said, leaning in, his forehead resting against hers. "It's see you soon." She kissed him then, slow and deep, pouring everything she couldn't say into that single moment. They stood there, wrapped in each other, time slowing to a crawl. When the final boarding call echoed through the speakers, she pulled back, wiping her tears. "I love you, Jayson. I love you more." She turned, walking through the doors, her heart heavy but full. As she looked back one last time, he was still there, watching, his hand raised. And Clara smiled. She wasn't leaving behind her past anymore. She was stepping into her future, with his love carrying her forward. Her journey was just beginning. The moment Clara stepped off the plane, everything felt different. The cold hit her first, a biting chill that wrapped around her body, nothing like the humid heat of Lagos. She pulled her coat tighter, her breath visible in the air. The city was alive, but it wasn't noisy in the way Lagos was. Here everything felt bigger. The buildings loomed tall and proud, streets orderly, people moving with purpose. She had arrived in New York. She stood there for a moment in the bustling airport, clutching the strap of her bag tightly, unsure whether the excitement in her chest was from fear or hope. Probably both. "Welcome to the United States," a voice said as she passed through immigration. She nodded politely, her mind racing. Every step she took was further from the girl she once was. A representative from the university waited for her at the terminal exit, holding a small placard with her name written in neat black letters. "Clara James." "You must be Clara," the woman said with a warm smile. "I'm Susan, from the International Students Office. I'm here to take you to campus." Clara nodded, her voice caught in her throat. "Thank you." The drive was quiet. She watched the world rush by outside the window. So many lights, so many people, yet she had never felt so alone and so free at the same time. When they arrived at the university, Clara's eyes widened. It was beautiful. The campus stretched over rolling green lawns, historic buildings standing tall with ivy climbing their walls, students walking with books in hand, laughter echoing in the distance. "This is your new home," Susan said kindly. "At least for the next few years." Clara swallowed hard. "It's amazing." Susan led her to her hostel, a comfortable room with 2 beds, a desk, a closet, and a large window overlooking the campus. "You'll meet your roommate tomorrow. For now, get some rest. Classes start next week, and you'll need your energy." Clara nodded, grateful yet overwhelmed. As the door closed behind her, she sat on the bed, her heart heavy with emotions she couldn't name. She was here. She had made it. But was she ready? She stood and walked to the window, staring out into the night. This was her fresh start. No one here knew her past. No one knew her secrets. Here she could be whoever she chose to be. The first few weeks were tough. The classes were harder than she expected, the accents sometimes difficult to understand, and the loneliness, constant. Clara missed Jayson, missed the familiarity of Lagos, the chaos she once knew how to navigate. But she didn't give up. She spent late nights in the library, poring over textbooks, jotting down notes until her hands cramped. She asked questions, stayed behind after lectures, and slowly, the professors began to notice her. You're a fast learner, Professor Williams said one afternoon, smiling. Where did you say you were from again? Nigeria, Clara replied, a hint of pride in her voice. Well, Nigeria is lucky to have you. Keep this up and you'll go far. Her heart swelled. She started to make friends too. Anna, a kind girl from Canada who loved painting, and Miguel, a witty boy from Brazil who always made her laugh. But even with these new connections, every night before bed, Clara would spend time with Jayson. Jayson never failed to call or message her. Just like he did this night. How was class today? Did you finally try that coffee I told you about? He asked. I tried it and didn't sleep all night, she replied happily. I told you it was strong. Well, I miss you, he said with so much emotion. I miss you too, Clara responded. Their bond remained, stretched across oceans but unbreakable. He was still her anchor. 3 months passed, and winter crept in, blanketing the campus in snow. Clara had never seen snow before. She stood outside one morning, gloved hands reaching out to catch the delicate flakes, her laughter ringing out like music. She felt like a child again, innocent, free, alive. Later that day, as she returned to her room, she found a package on her bed. A note attached read, "For when the cold is too much. Jayson." Inside was a soft scarf, deep blue, her favorite color. Tears welled in her eyes. She missed him more than she could admit. 2 weeks later, on a cold Friday evening, as she sat studying in her room, there was a knock at her door. She opened it, and there he was, Jayson. Standing there, snowflakes in his hair, eyes shining. "Surprise," he said. She threw herself into his arms, the world spinning. "I can't believe you're here," she cried, burying her face in his chest. "I couldn't stay away any longer," he whispered. "We are on holiday and I had to see you." They spent the weekend together, walking through snowy parks, sharing stories over hot chocolate, holding hands like nothing had changed. After that, they will go back to his hotel room. And in his arms, Clara found something she hadn't felt in a long time. With Jayson's encouragement, Clara began to share her story, not just with him but with others. She joined a student support group for survivors of abuse. The first time she spoke, her voice shook, but her words were clear. "I used to believe I was dirty, that no one would ever love me if they knew. But I'm learning that my past doesn't define me. It's a part of me, but it's not all of me." The room was silent, then filled with quiet nods and soft tears. She wasn't alone. Her courage inspired others. One day, a girl approached her after the meeting. "Thank you," she said. "You made me believe I can heal too." Clara hugged her, realizing that her pain had purpose. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was helping others live. Clara's story grew. She started a blog, The Girl Who Survived. She wrote about her journey, her struggles, her triumphs. Readers from all over the world responded. Messages poured in from girls who had faced similar horrors, from women who had been silenced for too long. Her words were like fire, burning away shame, igniting hope. And through it all, Jayson stood by her side. "You're changing lives," he told her one evening, as they sat by the campus lake during one of his visits. "I just want them to know they're not alone," Clara said. The blog became more than Clara ever imagined. Within months, her inbox was filled daily with stories. Girls from every part of the world sharing their pain, their survival, and their questions. Many didn't know where to begin healing. Others just wanted to know if it ever got better. Clara responded to every message. Each one was personal, raw, and sacred. But the more she gave of herself, the more she realized she needed help to do more. One afternoon, as she sat in her favorite corner of the university library, Jayson called her. After their greetings, she poured out her heart. "I want to do more than just write," she told him. "What are you thinking?" he asked. "A space," she said. "A place for girls like me. Somewhere they can come, feel safe, talk, learn, heal." Jayson smiled. "You want to start a foundation?" "Yes," she said, her heart racing at the thought. "But I don't know how." "You'll learn. Just like you learned everything else." They began the research that night. Non-profit registration, partnerships, grants. Clara reached out to her professors, and one of them, Professor Williams, offered to mentor her. "You have something powerful here," he said. "People will listen to you because you've lived it." The idea became a mission. Hope Beyond Shadows. That was the name she chose. Because every girl deserved to find light beyond her darkness. Words about Clara's work spread fast. The university invited her to speak at a youth empowerment seminar. First she hesitated. Public speaking was different from writing. But Jayson stood by her, helping her practice night after night. "You've lived this story," he told her. "No one else can tell it the way you can." The night of the seminar, Clara stood backstage, her heart pounding. She looked out at the crowd. Hundreds of students, professors, journalists. And then she stepped into the light. Her voice trembled at first, but with each word she grew stronger. "I was 6 when I lost my childhood," she began. "I was a child, abused by someone meant to protect me. Cast out by the only family I had close. Forced to survive in ways no child should ever know." Gasps echoed. "But I stand here today, not as a victim but as a voice. For every girl still trapped, still afraid, still believing she is worth nothing. You are worth everything. And there is life beyond the shadows." When she finished, the room was silent. Then applause. Standing ovation. People rushed to her, praising her courage, asking to support her cause. And for the first time, Clara felt seen, not as the broken girl from Lagos, but as a woman shaping her own destiny. After Clara's powerful speech at the university seminar, her world expanded in ways she hadn't anticipated. She wasn't just a student anymore. She was becoming a voice, a leader, and a symbol of strength. Her days were filled with lectures, study groups, and long nights with textbooks spread out before her. But alongside her academic journey, something else was growing. Hope Beyond Shadows, her foundation. Clara dedicated herself to it, often balancing between her coursework and meeting with counselors, survivors, and donors. She hosted small workshops on campus, built a team of passionate students, and slowly began expanding her reach beyond just online. Her story resonated with many, and it pushed her to be more. Jayson was her constant through it all. Though they were in different countries for now, he never missed a holiday. Every break, every chance he had, he flew back to see her. Their reunions were full of joy and comfort. Picnics in the park, late-night walks under city lights, and long talks about dreams that felt closer every day. But time didn't stand still. Jayson graduated a year before Clara, finishing with top honors. His dream of pursuing a master's in the US became a reality. It meant moving further away, but it also meant being in the same city with Clara. When he informed Clara, her joy knew no bounds. Life in the US was different, but it brought them closer. With Jayson now settled in the city, preparing for his master's, Clara found herself visiting often during weekends. The distance that once felt like a mountain became a bridge they crossed eagerly. He had found a small apartment, cozy, warm, filled with little reminders of her. A photo from Lagos framed on the wall, her favorite books on the shelf, a soft blanket they used to share during movie nights. When Clara arrived for her weekend visits, the city came alive for her. Their time together was precious. They explored New York like tourists, holding hands in Central Park, stealing kisses at the top of the Empire State Building, sharing secrets over coffee in tucked-away cafes. But the best moments were at home, cooking dinner together, dancing barefoot in the kitchen, falling asleep wrapped in each other's arms. "You being here," Clara whispered one night, her head on his chest, "makes everything feel possible." "And it is," Jayson replied. "You're almost done. Then we will be together for good." The final months of Clara's university journey flew by. Her foundation was thriving. She had secured partnerships with local shelters, and her blog had gained global attention. Academically, she was excelling, her professors praising her determination and depth. As graduation approached, Clara felt something bittersweet in her heart. She had come so far, But now it was time to say goodbye to this chapter. Jayson was there for her graduation, a proud smile never leaving his face as she walked across the stage, her name called as one of the most outstanding students. After the ceremony, he took her hand. "I have something planned," he said. She laughed. "Always full of surprises." He led her to a quiet, elegant restaurant overlooking the city skyline. Candles flickered, music played softly, and the world outside faded away. As dessert arrived, Jayson stood. "Clara," he began, his voice steady, eyes shining. "From the moment I saw you, I knew my life was about to change. You've shown me what strength is, what love truly means. I can't imagine a future without you." He knelt. "Will you marry me?" Tears streamed down her face as she nodded. "Yes. Yes, Jayson." Cheers erupted from nearby tables, but all she could see was him. Her love. Her forever. Returning to Lagos for the introduction and marriage was both joyous and heavy. Jayson's parents welcomed Clara with open arms. His mother held her tightly, whispering, "Thank you for loving our son." His father, usually reserved, smiled warmly, calling her daughter from the first moment. The introduction was simple but beautiful. Family, laughter, music, and love. But there was one more visit Clara had to make. Her auntie. She hadn't seen her since that day. She walked away with forgiveness on her lips but still a wound in her heart. The road to her auntie's house was all too familiar. As Clara sat quietly in the back of her man's car watching the bustling streets of Lagos pass by, her heart pounded like it wanted to escape her chest. Each street corner held a memory, some faded, some sharp as glass. Every turn felt like a step deeper into the part of her life she had long wanted to forget. Jayson held her close to his chest. The house came into view, a modest, weathered building with a rusted gate and peeling paint. It looked smaller than she remembered, like the years had shrunk it along with the fear it once held over her. She pushed the gate open and walked in. Her auntie was in the yard, bent over, scrubbing clothes in a basin. Her back was hunched, hair thinner, hands rough from years of labor. Clara stood silently, watching the weight of their history pressing down on her. It had been years, yet the woman before her hadn't changed much, except for the visible toll time had taken. Sensing someone behind her, her auntie turned slowly. Her eyes widened in shock. "Clara!" she gasped, dropping the cloth into the water. Clara nodded, her throat tight. "It's me." A long silence stretched between them, filled with all the words they had never said. What are you doing here?" her auntie asked, wiping her hands on her wrapper, unsure whether to be angry, afraid, or ashamed. "I came to see you," Clara said softly. Her auntie's eyes searched hers, looking for judgment, for accusations. But there was none. Only calm. "You've changed," her auntie said, stepping closer but not too close. "So have you," Clara replied. They stood there, two women bound by a painful past. Clara took a deep breath. "I didn't come here to fight. I didn't come for answers. I just came to let you know that I forgive you." Her auntie's face twisted, the words striking her like a slap. "Forgive me? For what?" "For everything," Clara said, her voice trembling but sure. "For not believing me when I needed you. For sending me away. For leaving me alone when I was just a child." Tears filled her auntie's eyes, though she tried to blink them away. "You think I wanted that life for you," she whispered, her voice cracking. "You think I wasn't hurting too? But you didn't protect me," Clara said, not with anger, but with a deep sadness. "You let him take from me, and then you blamed me for it." Her auntie turned away, covering her face with her hands. "I was scared. I didn't know what to do. He was my husband. I was a child." Clara cried, the words ripping from her chest. "I didn't seduce him. I didn't want any of it." Silence again, but this time it was different. Her auntie's shoulders shook, the years of guilt, fear, and regret pouring out in muffled sobs. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I've lived with it every day. I never forgave myself." Clara stepped closer, her heart aching. "I don't need your apology. I just needed to let it go." Her auntie turned, eyes swollen. How did you survive? Clara looked up at the sky for a moment, then back at her. By not giving up. By finding people who saw me. By learning to love myself, even when it was hard. Her auntie nodded slowly. Please come inside and sit. I want to tell you something, she said, her hands trembling. Clara gestured to Jayson to step down from the car as they walked in. They sat together, Jayson beside her. Silence stretching between them until her auntie spoke. That day. The day I sent you out, I got a call. Your parents. They were gone. Car accident. I didn't know how to tell you. Clara's world tilted. I blamed you for everything, her auntie continued, tears falling. I was broken. And I took it out on you. Clara wept, her body shaking as Jayson held her. All these years, she had carried the weight of abandonment, never knowing the full truth. But now she saw it clearly. Her auntie wasn't just her pain. She was her only family. I forgive you, Clara whispered, her heart heavy, but her spirit free. She introduced Jayson to her as her fiancé. And with that, the marriage preparations started. Their wedding was a grand celebration. A celebration of life, love, and survival. Clara walked down the aisle in a flowing white gown, her smile radiant, her past behind her. Jayson waited, tears in his eyes, as she joined him at the altar. They spoke their vows, words trembling with truth. I give you my heart, my soul, my everything, Clara said. And I promise to cherish you, protect you, love you, always, Jayson replied. They kissed, and the room erupted in joy. After the wedding, they returned to the U.S., hand in hand, ready for a life they had built from the ashes of their past. Their honeymoon was spent in a quiet beach house. Days filled with laughter, nights with passion and tenderness. They worked side by side. Jayson pursuing his career, Clara expanding hope beyond shadows, reaching more lives every day. Their love only deepened, growing stronger with every sunrise. On their one-year anniversary, the day started with laughter, and ended up with a candlelit dinner on the balcony of their home, city lights twinkling like stars below them. They talked about everything and nothing, sharing memories, dreams, inside jokes only they understood. You know, Jayson had said, leaning closer, his eyes dark with affection, I still can't believe you chose me. Clara laughed, setting down her wine glass. I should be the one saying this. You chased me. I didn't have much choice. He smirked, pulling her into his lap. I will chase you all over again. Every single time. With that they kissed. Their lips met, soft at first, then deeper, more urgent. It wasn't just passion, it was connection, raw and pure. He carried her inside, their bodies entwined in a dance they had come to know so well. Each kiss, each touch, spoke of trust, of a love that had healed wounds too deep for words. Her dress fell away, his hands exploring every inch of her, worshipping her with a reverence that made her breathless. They made love slowly, with a tenderness that melted every piece of the past. There was no shame in her anymore. Only desire, only love. As their bodies moved together, as whispers filled the room, Clara felt it fully, freedom. Not just from her past, but from every doubt, every fear that had once chained her heart. She was his, he was hers, and nothing else mattered. The next morning, Clara woke up to the soft morning light streaming through the sheer curtains, casting a golden glow across the room. Clara stirred beneath the warm sheets, her body tangled with his, her heart full in a way it had never been before. She opened her eyes slowly, taking in the stillness, the safety. Jayson lay beside her, his face relaxed in sleep, one arm draped protectively across her waist, holding her like she was the most precious thing in the world. His breath was steady, warm against her neck, and for a moment, Clara simply watched him, her heart swelling with a love that had been forged through pain, trust, and time. There were no secrets here, no walls between them. This was freedom, the kind she never thought she'd have. A soft smile curved her lips as she brushed a stray lock of hair from his forehead, her fingers tracing the familiar lines of his face. Every touch was a reminder of their journey, of the battles they had fought, and the unbreakable bond they had built. She shifted slightly, placing a soft kiss on Jayson's shoulder. He stirred, his eyes fluttering open, a sleepy smile spreading across his face. "Morning, beautiful," he murmured, tightening his hold on her. "Morning," she whispered back, snuggling closer. He kissed the top of her head, his fingers trailing lazily down her arm. "You didn't sleep much." "I didn't want to," she smiled. "Didn't want to miss a second." They lay there in silence for a while, wrapped in each other, the world outside forgotten. Then, with a playful grin, Jayson rolled out of bed. "Where are you going?" Clara asked, stretching. "Stay there," he said, pulling on a t-shirt. "I've got something for you." Clara laughed, shaking her head. "You spoil me a lot. And I'm not stopping," he said as he walked away. Minutes later, he returned with a tray of pancakes, fresh fruit, scrambled eggs, and 2 mugs of steaming coffee. "Breakfast in bed for my queen," he announced, setting it down carefully. Her eyes lit up, touched by the gesture. "You're too good to me." "Not possible," he replied, feeding her a piece of apple. "I just love seeing you happy." They ate together, feeding each other, laughing, stealing kisses between bites. "You know," Clara said, wiping her lips with a napkin, "I was thinking about everything we've been through." Jayson leaned back, watching her. "Yeah, I'm free now. Really free. I'm not hiding, not pretending. I wake up next to you and I know who I am. That's something I never thought I'd have." "You've earned it," he said. "You've fought for this. And I'll spend the rest of my life making sure you never forget how incredible you are." Tears glistened in her eyes, but they didn't fall. "Thank you, Jayson. For loving me. For staying. For being my home." He leaned in, cupping her face, his eyes locked on hers. "There's nowhere else I'd rather be." Their lips met again, slow and sweet, deepening with each second. Clara pulled him closer, the tray pushed aside as they melted into each other once more. The morning slipped away, replaced by the heat of their love, the promise of forever in every touch, every sigh, every kiss. I don't want the story to end, but this is the end. Thank you for watching. Remember to subscribe for more and drop sweet comments.